Hello folks, we are up to precept number 8, and I'm going to let you guess what that looks like in Japanese sign language. Uh, that is the precept we're on today. Somebody asked, though, if I could show Ziggy. Ziggy is our dog here. That's my favorite picture of him. Oops. We'll see if I can get him to make a cameo. I kind of doubt it today. He's running around the yard. So precept number 8 is an interesting one, and here is Nishijima Roshi's version of it. Don't begrudge the sharing of Buddhist teachings and other things, but give them freely. And his commentary is, our tendency is to want more than we have. We want more teachings, we want more things. But when we see our situation clearly, we realize that we are part of the wide and glorious universe. We have everything we need already. In such a situation, it is natural to give. We want to share the teachings and what wealth we have with others. It is a natural activity of our true situation. Nice one. The Brahmajala Sutra, which is that 5th century Chinese document that explains the various precepts, they have it as on stinginess and abuse. There's Ziggy. A disciple of the Buddha must not be stingy or encourage others to be stingy. He should not create the causes, conditions, methods, or karma of stinginess. I wonder what he's barking at. As a bodhisattva, whenever a destitute person comes for help, he should give that person what he needs. If instead, out of anger and resentment... What's going on, Ziggy? He was barking at Adriana's dad. He barks at Adriana's dad all the time. Let's see. If instead, out of anger and resentment, he denies all assistance, refusing to help with even a single penny, a needle, a blade of grass, even a single sentence or verse or a phrase of Dharma, but instead scolds and abuses that person, he commits a major offense. That's an interesting way to put it. And Dogen's commentary on this from Kyoju Kaimon is on not being stingy. One phrase, one verse, 10,000 forms, 100 grasses, one Dharma, one realization, all Buddhas, all teachers. Since the beginning, there has never been being stingy. And some of the various versions of the precept that we find in the evolution of the precepts from the Soto Zen Buddhist Association, these are versions given in various American and European Zen centers. Shasta Abbey has the 8th great precept on being mean in giving Dharma or wealth. Griffith Folk, 8th precept, not to be stingy with Dharma or material things, so they're pretty much the same. Boundless Way Zen has, being grateful for the gifts of this life, I vow to take up the way of not sparing the Dharma assets. Let's see. Let's find a longer one. Nonin has, a follower of the way does not attach to anything, even the teachings, but rather cultivates mutual support and shares the Dharma with all beings. Great Vow Zen Monastery has, I vow not to withhold spiritual or material aid, but to give freely when needed. Akiyama Roshi has abstinence from being sparing in the bestowal of teaching materials. Edo Shimano has, I will be satisfied with myself, I will not covet, envy, or be jealous. Okay? Philip Kapleau has, not to withhold spiritual aid, but to give it freely where needed. Katagiri Roshi says, a follower of the way does not possess anything selfishly. Appleton Zen Center, who always are good for a longer version, have, be giving, I give generously of myself, sharing freely my love, my gifts, my talents, and my abundance for the benefit of all. I do not selfishly withhold, I do not add any more suffering to the world. Well, that's nice. And let's see what Kobun Chino has to say in Embracing Mind Zen Talks of Kobun Chino Otogawa. He first gives the Bodhidharma One Mind Precept version, and he gives this one as no hoarding materials or teaching. And the Bodhidharma One Mind Precept version goes, self-nature is mysteriously profound, in the midst of all-pervading truth. Not to raise hoarding, attaching on any single form, is called no hoarding precept. And his commentary is, when you understand that everything was given to everyone in the beginning, a sense comes that there is nothing to limit as mine and as not mine. When you go to the mountain and see a flower blooming and you pick it, break it, and make it yours, this is attachment. If you let it be there for everything and everyone, that is what is called no attachment. The original meaning is two characters, stingy and greedy. I might think, this is mine and that is yours. The whole thing was given to me, so you cannot take it from me. If you keep something, you may have had an idea that it was possessed by you, but it was not possessed by you. You become very poor by having that idea. Dogen Zenji said, when you open your hand, everything is in your hand. When you close your hand, the air is very limited. I don't know where that comes from, but that's a nice Dogen quote. Explaining this idea of possession in this very pure way, naturally you understand this precept. When I say everything is given to you, it sounds like everything belongs to you, and you may feel really good. But when I say nothing belongs to you, you may feel bad. Even yourself doesn't belong to you. You are everything. This means you actually have no self to limit. Knowing this precept is having this deep understanding. Every single thing we appreciate is all public truth, and the whole Dharma. Teaching is maybe the unseen or spiritual part of the truth, and the material or visible part is public truth. Every minute, every second, we are unfolding teachings, and all materials are the dynamics of life. So there is nothing to hoard, nothing to not show to people, nothing to keep apart from the whole, calling it your own. And yet, in ordinary life, we have a dilemma. When someone asks us to help some group or themselves, how do we respond? We seem to see very unhappy situations in the external world, reflecting different circumstances. Political movements put forth methods to solve social problems, and sometimes you offer your energy hoping to solve a basic problem. But something is missing when we act in this way. We are forgetting something. We do not know the reason for their suffering. It could be a national policy which is wrong, but this approach is a seesaw game. When you press very hard on one side of the argument, you see just half of the situation. If you press the other side, it looks like the right answer is over there. The necessity of acting becomes a big challenge. What to do right now? This is a basic matter. You don't have to start something new. You just live on, go on living. Which I think is a real interesting thing, and I want to kind of leave it at that. There's maybe some interesting aspects to this precept. It, in some forms, is given as do not covet, which maps very closely to the... Now he's barking at Adriana's dad again. It matches very closely to the Ten Commandments commandment, thou shalt not covet. And maybe these precepts stem from a time of people trying to live communally. The Ten Commandments come from a time when people were moving from a hunter-gatherer lifestyle to a communal lifestyle in settled cities. So, wow, that's a weird noise. So coveting was a problem in a society that was trying to, have a sharing communal system. The same thing with the early Buddhists. They were not moving from hunter-gatherers, but they were moving into a situation where they were all living together and having to share things. So this precept began at that time with Buddhist monks, some of whom might have been very stingy with their stuff, and then they didn't want everybody to be stingy and not covet, and they wanted to make it a communal living that people could share things in. Another aspect of this is that Buddhism from the beginning was one of the missionary religions, and usually the missionary religions are Christianity, Islam, and Buddhism, as opposed to non-missionary religions like Judaism and Hinduism, which sort of keep to themselves and don't try to expand or create converts. There were Buddhist missionaries from the very beginning of Buddhism, so the idea of sharing the teachings was probably important in that respect. But then there is this other aspect that Kobun Chino gets into, which is that nothing is really yours to begin with, not even yourself, which is a very interesting idea. We think of self as belonging to me, but self doesn't really belong to me. It belongs to everyone and everything in the universe. Even conventionally, your image of yourself is not the same as somebody else's image of yourself, and what you are doing in this world is not all for the benefit of this, as the Buddhists say, as Dogen often said, this skin bag. It's for the benefit of other people and other things. All of what you do is that benefit. Even pooping is supposed to be a benefit for soil and things to grow. You are part of a system that is ever changing and ever moving. So things don't come to you to be your possessions, to be things that you hold on to. They come to you to pass through you and on to the next entity that needs that thing. This other thing about when he talks about giving to others and joining political movements and things, I don't want to get too into that because I'll just get in trouble. But this is kind of an issue for us if we're people who want to be generous. You'll always see somebody who's in need who you could possibly give to, but then you don't know if giving to them actually just exacerbates their problem or creates more problems along the line. You don't know if giving to this political movement is actually the best thing to do because that other political movement also has some good ideas. It gets very confusing. And I think what Nishijima Roshi would have said if he was faced with this problem, I'm just kind of reading into the way he used to talk, would be to use your intuitive sense. When you see the problem or the thing coming to you, look at what your intuitive sense is to do. Do you give that money to the person who's asking for it, or do you not? Depends on how you feel at that moment and trying to see what's right for that time and that place. And it's difficult to give a kind of a general overview. I remember once somebody was talking in one of Nishijima Roshi's lectures about the takuhatsu. Now, takuhatsu is ritual begging that Buddhist monks do. And one of the things that was happening, probably still is happening at the time, was in the larger train stations in Japan, in Tokyo, you would see people who seemed to be doing takuhatsu. I'm doing this because they would always wear this giant conical hat so nobody can see their faces, and they're dressed as monks and they're holding a bowl, and sometimes they're chanting a sutra, and they want you to put money in the bowl. Somebody asked Nishijima Roshi about those people, and he said, I never give to those people because I don't know if they are actually really monks. Which was his attitude towards it, because it is true a lot of people would just kind of dress up as monks and then, get a handout that way and maybe spend it on booze or whatever. So it's really kind of up to you how to handle those things. There's always something that you could donate to or give to, and finding out which ones are the worthy ones and which are not is a difficult task. And it's a great segue, though, because I can tell you that if you want somebody to donate to, you can donate to this address that I'm showing you on the screen right now. That is how I make my money. That is how I make my living. And I promise you it's not going to be spent on booze. But if you don't have a lot of money right now, if you're having financial troubles, don't give to me. But those of you who are still giving to me, you're the ones who help me buy cereal and toilet paper and Ziggy food and everything else. So I thank you very much for your continued support. I hope this series is interesting to you. Have a good time all the time. See you later. Bye.